Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Celtics Talk Radio video chat here on YouTube.com. I'm your host, co-host Dan Camacho, alongside, as usual, my co-host Igor. This is recap of the Celtics and 76ers Game 1 of their first-round playoff series. The Celtics last night winning 109-101 over the Philadelphia 76ers in a game that featured big performances from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the Celtics side. The bench pretty much giving the Celtics absolutely nothing. And unfortunate injury to one of the Celtics' top players, which we will get into that in our next segment. So Jason Tatum in 41 minutes, giving you the numbers here. 41 minutes, 32 points, 10 of 21 shooting overall, and 13 rebounds. Gordon Hayward scored 12 points in 34 minutes on 5 of 13 shooting. Daniel Tice added 9 points in 25 minutes on 4 of 9 shooting. Kemba Walker added 19 points in 35 minutes on 7 of 16 shooting. Jaylen Brown added 29 points in 39 minutes on 9 of 16 shooting, including 5 of 8 from downtown. Grant Williams scored nothing and grabbed 2 rebounds in 2 minutes of action. Enes Kanter scored nothing, played 8 minutes. He had 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Robert Williams played 13 minutes. He got 2 points on 1 of 4 shooting, added 6 rebounds and 1 assist. Brad Wanamaker added 4 points in 10 minutes on 2 of 3 shooting, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. And then Marcus Smart, 32 minutes off the bench. Igor scored only 2 points on 0 of 5 shooting, 0 of 3 from downtown, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Romeo Langford basically barely played yesterday. He didn't even make it to 1 minute, so only played a few seconds, so he didn't come up with anything. Semi Ojeleye and Javonte Green do not play, coach's decision. On the 76ers side of things, Joel Embiid led the way with 26 points in 37 minutes on 8 of 15 shooting. He had 16 rebounds. Al Horford, the former Celtic in this case, scored only 6 points in 31 minutes on 3 of 7 shooting. 0 of 1 from downtown. He had 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Tobias Harris scored 15 points in 39 minutes of action, 6 of 15 from the floor, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Richardson scored 18 points in 37 minutes on 7 of 17 shooting, 3 of 9 from downtown, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Milton added 13 points in 26 minutes on 5 of 7 shooting, 3 of 5 from downtown with 3 assists. Scott, who played 2 minutes, didn't score a single point, had 2 rebounds. Burks scored 18 points off the bench, 28 minutes, 6 of 15 from the floor, 1 of 3 from downtown, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. 5 points for Thibault in 33 minutes on 2 of 3 shooting, 1 of 2 from downtown, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. And then Korkmaz scored nothing in 7 minutes. He had 1 rebound. So overall, the Celtics ended up shooting 38 of 90 for 42.2% from the field, 10 of 31 from the three-point line, 43 rebounds, 22 assists. They lost the rebound battle by 7, as Philly had 50 rebounds in this case. Philly shot 46.3% from the floor, 37 of 80, and 33.3% from downtown, 9 of 27. So it's now a 1-0 series lead for the Boston Celtics. Game 2 is tomorrow night. I believe it's at 6:30 in this case, same time as Game 1. So, Igor, again, the Celtics, big win yesterday over Philadelphia. But, of course, as we mentioned in our radio show this past Saturday night, Philadelphia does not have Ben Simmons. And, of course, Joel Embiid is playing with a hand injury. That's another thing from what's been reported. So you and me felt this was a series that the Celtics should end up winning easily. Yesterday's game, it was anything but easy in this case. The Celtics did have a double-digit lead at times, only for Philly to come back. The Philly came back and took the lead in the fourth quarter, before the Celtics ultimately had an offensive, run and took the lead right back in order to basically hold on down the stretch, thanks to some big buckets from the, trio of Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. So before we now get into the discussion of some of the big things from yesterday, Igor will come with the bad news from yesterday's game and give us an update on the situation. Igor?
So the Celtics forward Gordon Hayward suffered grade 3 sprain in his right ankle during the fourth period of last night's game against Philadelphia 76ers. Gordon Hayward is expected to miss approximately 4 weeks. That's entirely series against Philadelphia and almost entirely series against Toronto Raptors. Further updates will be provided as appropriate. This is from official Boston Celtics account. In other words, we have won the game, but we had lost the battle. And it really, really sucks because our bench is thin as a paper. If not, the right term is non-existence, ghost bench. And we have lost one of the top 4 player. The people will say, well, Gordon Hayward is not important, and Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Jason Tatum, he is the 4th option. Yes, but Gordon Hayward is very important. Gordon Hayward is making a lot of things. Making a lot of things happen very, very easily for the Celtics. He's the glue guy. He's the guy that is holding the good atmosphere for the Celtics. If you don't know, the people think that in the team, Marcus Smart and the other guys are, the main ones. But according to the people close to the Celtics, Gordon Hayward is that glue guy, veteran leadership and stability alongside playmaking, alongside, he made Al Horford look bad last night. He made us forget about Al Horford playoff Al the last night. That's how he is important. Considering that, let us see, of course, that Brad Stevens started Jason Tatum, Daniel Tice, Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown. First sub of the bench, Marcus Smart, then Robert Williams and Bradley Wanamaker. Enes Kanter, number 4. Grant Williams, almost 2 minutes. First of all, Daniel, our biggest strength are the trio of wings. Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown. The wings that are two-way wings. They can defend, they can run the transitions, they can attack. By losing Gordon Hayward, we're losing one of them, and that is putting more pressure onto Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Also, in Gordon Hayward, we are losing primary ball handler in the crunch time because Kemba Walker is playing off the ball in the crunch time often. I underline off the ball in the crunch time often. And Gordon Hayward is a playmaker that is making literally 0 to none mistakes in the crunch time. We're losing stability. We're losing the little things that Gordon Hayward is bringing. And it is putting more pressure to the rest of the 4 starters plus Marcus Smart. I would say that those 5 players, Brown, Tatum, plus on those 6 players, the pressure will be enormous. And Daniel, I cannot think what would happen if we lose one more player. Really. Comments about that?
Well, like you said, Gordon Hayward, he may not be the number 1 guy on this team, number 2 or number 3, but he is critical for the fact that, one, Tatum, and Brown.
One more thing, Daniel. Remember when we previewed the series? The Celtics blog wrote that X Factor, somebody from the Celtics blog, and I'm not shooting the Celtics blog, they are good guys, but somebody wrote, Daniel, there that the X Factor is Daniel Theis because apparently Daniel Theis is going to guard Joel Embiid. I mean, are you kidding me? The X Factor in the series with the Sixers is Daniel freaking Theis. I saw how the Theis did good job on Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid was dunking over him. But what we said here, what we said on the Celtics Talk Radio, to remind you and the viewers, we said 2 X factors. The persons who, 2 people who will decide who will win the series are Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid. Very simple. Who is better out of that duel, his team will go further. Okay? The best player usually decides who will win the series. Now, the Celtics are a better team without Simmons and Glenn Robinson III. They are without Simmons and Glenn Robinson III, the 2 wings, the 2 plus perimeter defenders, okay? Now, we said another thing, but the X factor, how long the Celtics will go into the playoffs, that's what we were talking, Daniel, for 2 freaking months. Check every single Celtics Talk radio show. You and I, what was the question? How the Celtics will work in the playoffs without Gordon Hayward? Do you think that the Celtics can work against elite teams in the playoffs without Gordon Hayward? And I'm not sure right now, Daniel, to tell you the truth. I thought, personally, my picks, the Celtics against Philly in 5, the Celtics against Raptors in 7, and Bucks over the Celtics in 6. Right now, this injury of Gordon Hayward, I think that can change the outcome of Toronto Raptors series. I think that the Raptors can hope to defeat us with the right mentality because they are deep, they are good coached, they are healthy, and they're poisoned to make a good deep playoff run and to defend the title. They really believe in it. And they're 11 deep. Unlike us, we mentioned 6 or 7 players deep, realistically speaking. So this injury can change the outcome of Toronto Raptors series. Hopefully that we can win. I cannot imagine what will happen if somebody else like Kemba Walker sit down against the Raptors couple of games. I will tell you what will happen. We will lose that series. And I just wanted to remember and to underline, we said on the Celtics Talk Radio, the keys to the deep playoff run of the Celtics are Gordon freaking Hayward and Kemba freaking Walker and their health. And we were right. Right?
Yeah, you and me pretty much, made it clear to everybody. And ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, when we were talking about Hayward and the potential of you not having him, it wasn't that we were banking on Hayward getting an injury in this case. We were banking on the fact that he made it public to the team and to the, fans and all of that he was intending to leave. At some point.
Same thing. 2 weeks out, right? Or 10 days.
Yeah. He was expecting to leave at some point because his wife is scheduled to give birth to their newest child. So the moment Gordon Hayward felt it was time to leave the team and to go be with his wife and family, he was out, which is why we said you can maybe survive without him in the first round, but you probably won't survive in round 2 if you're going to be playing Toronto without him, and you damn sure ain't going to beat Milwaukee without him in this case. But we were under the impression you were going to have him at least for the first round.
Just to add one more sentence, Marc Gasol and Pascal Siakam will eat alive whomever Brad Stevens put at power forward. Pascal Siakam will have a blast to play over Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, or whomever Brad Stevens put at position number 4, sadly.
Yeah, so that's the thing right now we're facing, ladies and gentlemen. Now you got no Gordon Hayward, which means technically, if you think about it, Igor, a majority of this team's offense comes between Tatum, Brown, Hayward, and Kemba. Those 4 are your offense, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you get from the other guys on the team, Tice, Smart, Cantor, Wanamaker, Edwards, whoever you want to name, it's all basically, something that you can look at and say, we're not guaranteed to get that every night. That's the way it's been. Kemba, Brown, Tatum, and Hayward are the ones that know the 4 of them have to combine for enough points to either beat the other team or keep it close enough that basically whatever small amount of points you get from the rest of the guys will be enough to just tip you over. Last night, Igor, again, we see 23 points from the Philly bench to only 8 from the Celtic bench. Yet the Celtics win by 8 points in the end.
Well,
showing
Daniel, I must slightly disagree with you or correct you, because I think that last night the Sixers bench outplayed our bench. You have 18 points from Alex Burks and +3, and Matisse Thybulle scored 5. That is making 23 points from the Sixers bench. And the Celtics bench scored exactly 8 points. Wanamaker 4, Smart 4, Robert Williams 2. That is making 23-8 for the Sixers bench, or plus 15. Surprise, surprise. What did we say in the series preview? Again, the Sixers are having the better bench.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying, Igor, that technically Tatum, Brown, Hayward, and Kemba realize they got to do it all offensively. Last night, again, the bench got outscored 23-8 by Philly's bench, but you still won the game by 8. And why is that? Because those 4 managed to dominate their matchup against the starting 5 of Philly. Because again, Tice didn't really add anything. If you look at the numbers, Igor, in that game yesterday, I think he made maybe 1 basket or something like that, like a 3-pointer, if I'm correct. So technically, it's a situation where really, and correction, 9 points for Daniel Tice in this situation on 4 of 9 shooting. So, like I said, the 4 of them did enough damage to keep the game, Igor, close, where one of the player on the team, all he had to do was score enough to basically make the difference in this case. Our bench, ladies and gentlemen, after Marcus Smart, there really isn't anybody else that you can expect to have a big-time performance on a night-to-night basis. And last night, even Marcus Smart was horrendous when it came to shooting. Now you got no Gordon Hayward, so you lose one of your 4 offensive weapons in this case, and now someone has to start. In this case now, Marcus Smart has to be the one that's going to have to take Gordon Hayward's role in terms of being the 4th offensive weapon. But Marcus Smart himself isn't consistent when it comes to scoring. So down, you're technically now making it where there's more pressure that has to be put on the shoulder of Kemba Walker, has to be put on the shoulders of Jason Tatum, has to be put on the shoulders of Jaylen Brown, because those three now are going to have to realize they not only have to put up their own numbers that they would normally put as part of their share of winning, but they have to make up now from the bench as well, and for Gordon Hayward's absence also in this case. So, Igor, to be honest with you, we should still win this series. That is the truth. But I wouldn't be surprised if we lost either. Because now, people still mention...
Depends on Philly. I didn't like what I saw from Philadelphia last night. Their body language, Daniel, is not telling me that they are convinced that they can defeat us. Their body language is saying that they think they will lose. Their players think that they will lose, and that's why they will lose probably this series.
Well, but a major injury, Igor, to an opposing team's player can change the mindset completely.
Right.
And that's
right.
Think about it. Why did we have so much, and why did the Celtics have so much confidence that they would be the ones to win this series over Philadelphia? Because Philly lost Ben Simmons prior to the series starting. So now things have evened up. Both teams have lost a critical player, in this case, to their roster, with Philly, of course, losing the man that could be deemed maybe the most critical, if not the second most important player on their team, depending on whether you put Ben Simmons at first and Embiid second, or Embiid first and Simmons second. But they lost one of their top two guys. Regardless.
They lost. I will explain about great that you mentioned. We must explain what the Philadelphia lost. First of all, they lost the best perimeter defender probably in the NBA. Okay, Jason Tatum, ladies and gentlemen, is shooting 31. This Jason Tatum that many Celtics fans considering him top 5 players or the best player in the NBA. Which is madness, but if you ask me, but never mind. This Jason Tatum, he was shooting 31% field goal when he was guarded in the regular season 4 games by Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is the only plus perimeter defender. Which means when he is on the court, the Sixers are winning those minutes. Glenn Robinson III, this is 3-and-D guy, similar to Jay Crowder. If you remember, he can score the 3 and he can defend. This is another body that you can throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and you expect some defense. He's out too with the injury. That is making the two great perimeter defenders to throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. From the Sixers, they are out. We are expecting updates game to game about Glenn Robinson, but for now, he's out. So right now, of course, Gordon Hayward is out as we know it. One more thing to add. Tim Bontemps from ESPN, quote, Gordon Hayward being out for the first 2 rounds has massive ramification for the Eastern Conference playoffs. Not only will it narrow Boston's margin for error against the Sixers, not only it will narrow Boston's margin for errors against the Sixers, but if the Celtics can get by the Sixers, it will be huge factor in the Celtics series second round against the Toronto Raptors. This is exactly what I said and what you confirmed, Daniel. So I'm saying this because the big national writers are thinking the same way as you and me. So that means that we're not crazy. Please go on.
Yeah, so, people gotta keep in mind, there's so many things now that are gonna have to change for the Celtics. Like, really, who on that bench other than Marcus Smart, who on that bench this season has shown they can have a consistent 10 to 15 points a night in this case? Igor, I don't know. I don't think we've seen anybody on that bench other than Marcus Smart go 6 games straight scoring double digits this season, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the truth. So we are now in a tight spot here. Like I said, we should still win this series, but I would not be surprised now, Igor, if we end up losing it, because now you're telling Tatum, Brown, and Kemba, you three have to outscore Embiid, you have to outscore Harris, you have to outscore the rest of the starting lineup pretty much with whatever little bit of points Daniel Tice gives you, and whatever little bit amount of points you might get from the other person that comes to replace Hayward in the lineup, whether it's Marcus Smart, whether it's Time Lord, whether it's Grant Williams, whoever it is. But you three are going to have to now take it up a notch, and you're all going to have to score even more than you normally do, because you have to outscore that entire starting five and nearly outscore the entire bench on top of it, because now there is no offensive powerhouse on that Celtic bench whatsoever. And this is one thing you and me have been worried about all season long in this case, as well as the issue with the big man.
Bench scoring, and lack of starting center. That is what prevents the Celtics to be the true contenders. I have interesting tweet that I want you to comment from Bobby Krivitsky, our friend, and we will speak with him hopefully sooner rather than later. The Celtics can make up for Hayward's absence on defense, and to lesser but significant extent his facilitating. Their best bet is to atone for losing someone who is average 18.7 points per game in the bubble, is to get 25 plus points from the top 3 scorers and the rest from the bench. To clarify, Hayward averages 18.7 points per game in the seeding games. About the bench, Boston's second unit combined to score 8 points in yesterday's win. That group needs to capitalize on the open threes, plus Wanamaker is capable of efficiently exceeding his 6.9 points per game average. That's from Bobby Krivitsky. Some optimistic view. What do you say?
Well, I agree with them. Now that Marcus Smart is going to have to start, Wanamaker now is going to have to be the next man to step up to try to be the leader of that second unit and bring something offensively, because Marcus Smart now has to take care of Gordon Hayward's points, meaning now Wanamaker, you gotta basically cover whatever it was Marcus Smart was bringing as the leader of that bench in this case. You know, Wanamaker is somebody that has got a decent shot overall. He's really great at the free throw line. We need to see him get aggressive. Now, 3-point shooting, Igor, this is where your comment earlier about Daniel Tice is actually, you know, I in a way, I almost agree. If we had technically Gordon Hayward not being injured right now, I would say in a way they might be correct. Daniel Tice might be, you know, really important, might be an X factor because of what we saw yesterday in Game 1. Yesterday in that game, Igor, we saw the defensive game plan the 76ers have decided they want to put on the Celtics, which is they're not going to defend Daniel Tice. Daniel Tice is being given all the time and all the space in the world to do whatever he wants with the ball in exchange for Embiid staying in the paint to prevent any layups and the other guys continuing to go one-on-one against Hayward, Brown, Kemba, and Tatum. Daniel Tice literally can take a shot whenever he wants, in this case from wherever he wants, and Embiid is not really going to defend it unless the shot is down low in this situation. Daniel Tice is going to have to step it up, be willing to take more shots, especially if they're wide open, because the one way you make Embiid leave that paint is you make him pay for leaving you wide open. Daniel Theis, ladies and gentlemen, has got to turn into Dirk Nowitzki pretty much and start nailing the threes from from straight ahead. Because for the most part, that's where yesterday we noticed it. He was straight ahead from the hoop, had the ball in his hands, but would hesitate to shoot. Now, if you're not going to become Dirk when it comes to taking threes, you got to become Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan and take the jump shots. In this case, take a step or two further inside the arc and take the shot. But you got to do something to make it where Joel Embiid is going to have to realize, and his coach is going to have to realize, this guy is kicking our ass with these shots from outside the paint. We can't continue to basically leave him open. Joel, you're going to have to go out there and defend him and make sure basically it goes to somebody else who's going to shoot one-on-one in this case. At some point, they're going to have to do it. But if Daniel Theis continues to show that he doesn't want to shoot and all he does is have the ball and he holds on to it waiting for somebody else to basically get open, and then once the shot clock is about to go off, then I'll fling it up and basically try to see what happens, then Philly's going to get the advantage. In this case, in my opinion, Igor, that was one of the top reasons why yesterday they were able to keep up with us for the most part, and we could never actually pull away and really put them away early. Because each and every time we had somebody on the floor that basically did not get their shots wide open in, and because the 76ers focused on those four guys, like we said. Remember
a couple of things also. Philadelphia had 18 turnovers. They didn't shoot well, and Embiid didn't have the best game. We defended him well. So what will happen when Philadelphia plays better? About the Celtics, what they will do without Gordon Hayward, the Celtics are going to start smart. Basically, to give all their perimeter guys 40-plus minutes from here out. I still think that it is imperative to limit how much you rely on your bench or reserves, because you cannot trust reserves. But regardless, we're going to wear out the perimeter guys, but you're still going to need solidly 15 minutes from a combination of Shemi, Grant, Romeo Langford, Green. We might see somebody of those guys. I wanted to notice a couple of things from Philadelphia perspective. What are the good things in the game and the bad things before going to the subjects that we discussed prior to the show, Daniel? That is Jason Tatum and officials, complaining to the officials. The positive things, we won. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, 61 points. The great start. We've shown that we are a better team than them, I think. It's still game one. We should not overreact, but we have shown that without Simmons and without Glenn Robinson III, I don't think they have the real chance. Now their chances are grown, but still not over 50% in my opinion. Stevens, he did a great job. He scouted good Philadelphia, and he put Smart to Green and Embiid early in the periods, so that in the second or third period, Smart he avoided Daniel Theis to be fouled out on the non-shooting actions. And this is not surprise that Theis got some early fouls. because he cannot guard Embiid. Anybody that thinks that he can guard Embiid, he is just not normal. Negative things. We blown the leads. We play upside down. We are not consistent. Our bench only 8 points. We got out-rebounded. We got out-muscled in the paint. Second chance points, Philadelphia. And everything that we talked about. Positive for us is that I have been following the Philadelphia medias, Daniel. They're saying that Brett Brown will be fired when he and if he loses this series. The pressure is on him. Now they are blasting Brett Brown for not starting Matisse Thybulle. Daniel, Matisse Thybulle, I was talking about him. He is a rookie and he still learn how to defend. He has problems horizontally defending Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. But during his stint on the court against Jason Tatum scored 4 points and he shooted 30% and less, if I'm correct. During when the other players from Sixers guarded Jason Tatum, he scored on them. Like 28 points. Matisse Thybulle played 32 minutes. He was guarding Jason Tatum 8 minutes, and he played from the bench. He started at the bench. Matisse Thybulle. The biggest objection of Philadelphia crowd is why didn't Matisse Thybulle started in the place of Shake Milton? Because Matisse Thybulle still plus minus -2. But Shane Milton is -7. So the main objection is why Matisse Thybulle didn't start. And why Matisse Thybulle is not primary defender on Jason Tatum, Daniel. You have Richardson, who was chasing Kemba and Smart and Brown, but on the other end, you have Furkan Korkmaz, Scott, and Thybulle to put on Tatum and Hayward. Now, the other objection is that Joel Embiid only took 15 field goals and he has 12 free throws. Also, he shot 1 of 4 for 3. Despite having double-double 26 and 16, this was not the best game for Joel Embiid. And the objection from the Sixers analysts is that Embiid needs to be established and need more touches, need more shoots, and Thybulle needs to start, and Thybulle needs to guard Tatum more, because it seems like the best defender for Tatum is Matisse Thybulle. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm helping the Sixers, but I'm just analyzing the game. And the most pleasant surprise from the Sixers is Alec Burks from the bench, the best scorer from the bench. 6 of 15 shooting, 5 of 7 free throws, 1 3 for 3. So that is the Sixers' perspective. Do you want something to say?
Well, again, you went mentioning the bad and the good things. I think another bad thing we saw yesterday, Igor, was too much hero ball for the
Absolutely.
Celtics. There were times that we saw guys literally trying to win the game at some point 1-on-5, no ball movement on the offensive end.
Absolutely.
Whether it was Tatum who did it and he would be taking up some stupid shots, Brown throwing up some stupid shots in this case. You know, we saw it with several guys in this situation. And we showed, and it was proven last night, the Celtics, the time where they basically played their best was when the ball was moving side to side. And it was leading to
Absolutely.
the 76ers having to scramble like crazy, and basically somebody ended up wide open. So, question was at that point, did you get the shot in? If it was Tatum or Brown or Kemba or Hayward, it was likely going in. Everybody else, it was likely a miss. That's the way it went yesterday. But you got a much better flow of offense and better shots overall when this team was playing and sharing the ball in this case. We cannot be seeing any more of that hero ball from now on at this point. How many games do we have to have where we see these guys basically trying to win it on their own to try and prove that they're superstars, and at that time it usually ends up causing us to lose the lead. Or, you know, the lead, we don't lose it, but the lead gets chopped in half or gets chopped down to just a few possessions in this case. You know, we can't afford to be seeing that. Yesterday we saw a lot of point blank shots, Igor, that didn't go in. Missed layups in this case, you know, messed up, you know, dunks. Stuff like that. With Embiid playing and the fact that the 76ers are trying to make sure that Embiid is going to be in the paint. Anytime you get a chance to get a wide open, give me, you know, like the shot in the basket, the 2 points is gift wrapped. You better make sure that you're getting it in. Don't be going the route of basically forgetting, you know, messing up when you're right there 2 feet away from the rim. Come on. You're being paid $30 million, $20 million, $15 million, $8 million, and you're telling me you can't get the ball to go in this case from 2 feet away? And last but not least, Igor, the defense. What was another reason why Philly kept up with us, other than the fact that at times we started playing the hero ball? It was that our guys were so focused on Joel Embiid that we had too many guys leaving their guy wide open, and it led to too many three-point shots for the Philadelphia 76ers. Our guys have got to realize Joel Embiid is only one player. Embiid, as good as he is, Igor, is not going to be scoring no 50, 60, 70 points like we see from some of these big-time superstars and some of these big-time shooters like you see from Devin Booker or Doncic or some of these other players we've seen,
DJ Warren.
Yeah, exactly. Or Murray.
Also Donovan Mitchell scored. By the way, talking about the great performances, Luka Doncic is the first NBA player ever that scored 40-plus points in his NBA playoff debut. Donovan Mitchell scored 51 the other night. So, we have Jason Tatum, but the others from his generation or younger, they're playing very good basketball. Also, TJ Warren, he was beasting. Booker, he was beasting. They are also star materials, right?
Yep, so I'm just simply saying Joel Embiid, Igor, doesn't have really the shooting skills that you're going to see him basically putting up performances like that. He's not going to all of a sudden overnight turn into Damian Lillard or something like that, or Steph Curry, and start scoring a 50 or 60, 70-point game.
I think that he is better shooter outside than, for example, Giannis Antetokounmpo, but he's still bad.
Yeah, exactly. Giannis is not someone that really does much shooting from outside the way Embiid has done at times. But like you said, he's not one of those that's going to have a big time performance. So let Tice, let Robert Williams, let Enes Kanter, and whoever else gets the opportunity to play in that center position, let them focus on just guarding Embiid one-on-one. Because Embiid is not going to score enough points to basically outscore Tatum, Brown, Kemba,
Kemba Walker.
He's not going to be able to outscore them with, it's going to come down to how many points does the supporting cast for him end up adding. And if you focus on staying on your man, in this case one-on-one, and you let Embiid basically do what he's got to do one-on-one against your center, you're going to be in good shape overall. Because Embiid, due to the fact that he's a big guy, he's heavy, he is not someone who can play no 48 minutes a game either. He missed, he missed some, stretches there yesterday. I think he came, like we said, he played like 30-something minutes in the situation. And we noticed, Igor, the moment Embiid gets off the floor and Horford comes in for him, the Celtics take advantage. So focus on stopping the three-point shooters. Stop, Harris. Stop Thibault, and the rest of these guys, Richardson and them, and let Embiid go ahead and try to beat you on his own. Basically, Igor, do to them what the 76ers are trying to do to you. They want to make it where Tice beats them? Well, you make it where Joel Embiid is going to have to beat you in this case. But yesterday, we didn't see it enough. Yesterday, there was too many times that we saw a double team get thrown in Embiid's way, and it led to a wide open man getting the ball and them making the Celtics pay. Whether it was a three-pointer or a attack to the rim that led to free throws or an and one in the situation, I think Brad Stevens has to consider that. Don't worry about Embiid. Let him do what he's gonna do. He's gonna get his anyways. You gotta stop the rest of the supporting cast, and you're not gonna do that if you keep leaving them wide open.
Yeah. The Sixers to defeat us, they need Embiid to be like Shaquille O'Neal from the beginning of 2000s. That means, if you recall, the last time when they defeated us, Simmons had like 4 points, but Embiid was like 36 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, one assist away from triple-double. So he needs to be that guy. Also, Tobias Harris, number 2 in the offense. They need more from him, 20-plus points. And the third guy is obviously Josh Richardson. He scored 18 points last night, but he needs to be 20-plus. In other words, I don't know who is the fourth option. No obvious fourth option for them. I mean, probably Al Horford, but the three guys, top 3 guys, scorers like Embiid, Harris, and Richardson, they need to outscore top 3 guys from the Celtics. Brown, Tatum, and Kemba Walker. Or they must not allow the big scoring margin. Okay, for example, if you compare top 3 scorers of the Celtics to top 3 scorers of the Sixers, the difference must not be 10 plus points in the Celtics' favor. If the difference is 10 plus points for Tatum, Brown, and Kemba Walker, the Celtics are winning every single time. Because, for example, if the top 3 Celtics outscored the top 3 Sixers scorers by 8 points. The Sixers bench, Alec Burks, Matisse Thybulle, and those guys, Furkan Korkmaz, Mike Scott, they can outscore the Celtics bench 8 to 10 points, but they cannot outscore the Celtics bench by 20. So the Sixers starters, in other words, they must stay close. They must keep it up with the Celtics starters enough when the Sixers bench step in and at the floor, the Sixers bench can defeat us, if you know what I mean. That is the game plan, and that is what should happen for the Sixers to defeat the Celtics, in my opinion. Do you want something to add on the subject before we move to Jason Tatum against the officials?
Well, again, you and me are just saying that, we've, preached this pretty much since the beginning of the season about how we said, that the bench is weak. You don't have any real shooters on there on this team, and a lot of your guys are in their first year pretty much as NBA players. Ladies and gentlemen, this situation with the first and second round now that Gordon Hayward is exiting due to his injury, and of course, Igor, we already said there's a guarantee, there's probably a chance Hayward doesn't even bother to come back this season with the birth of his child coming. Ladies and gentlemen,
I read somewhere, Daniel, to make it clear, he should be available for the Eastern Conference Finals. Could be, should be, theoretically speaking, if we get there. But right now, I'm really pessimistic that we're going to see him this year.
Well, yeah. Well, again, in terms of, the injury, Igor, he should be available for the Eastern Conference Finals. Question is going to be, does he want to basically come? Because I'm sure he's going to be right now with the injury. He's going to go home. He's going to be with his wife during this period as he recovers. Question will be, does he want to come back after all of this? With, of course, again, if his wife gives birth to their baby during the time that he's basically out with the injury, will he want to come back, pretty much, or will he choose to basically stay home with his family and say family is more important, the same way that the Boston Bruins goaltender Tuukka Rask decided to do it and decided to walk away for the remainder of the NHL season? So I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, we got the team right now has a ton of pressure. Danny Ainge right now has got to be nervously biting his fingernails, Igor, in this situation, because he realizes now we're going to learn the truth.
Remember that we played audio in which Daniel Ainge said, quote, "We don't need any bench help, and we don't need any playmakers nor shooter from the bench." What we think, Danny? Because, quote, "in the playoffs, you have the top 4 all-star guys who will play 40-plus minutes per game, and we will limit the bench minutes." I said, great. That is exactly the truth. But I asked at the show, Mr. Danny Ainge and all his supporters that are claiming we don't need any bench help nor the scorer from the bench. Great. What would happen if one of the top 4 players go down? Who will play then? Well, that's exactly why you need the deep bench in the playoffs. And I cannot remember the team winning anything without a bench in the playoffs, to tell you the truth.
Well, that and the fact that you want to keep them fresh, Igor, that's the other thing. You ain't gonna be able to win if you gotta be having now your best players going the route of playing over 40 minutes a night now, and ultimately they're wasted. Their batteries are wasted by the time you get to the conference finals in this case. which, ladies and gentlemen, that's probably how it's going to be. Yeah, they're young. They're not like some of these older guys like LeBron that definitely need more rest in this situation. But they're human still, Igor, and they're going to need some sort of break at some point in this case. And I'm simply saying, now it's time to find out the truth. You all wanted these guys to take over the ranks instead of sticking with the veterans we had. You all wanted to basically say these guys are just as good as LeBron and all of them. Right now, they've already reached that superstar level. You all wanted to say, forget the bench, give all the money to Brown and Tatum in this case, along with Kemba and Hayward, and those four can get the job done, and the bench we don't need to worry about anything. What did you and me say, Igor? We said you can give Brown and Tatum some extra money. They deserve to get more than what they're being paid, but you damn sure cannot be giving them no max contracts if you're thinking about trying to improve that bench. Yeah, Gordon Hayward's contract ends, ladies and gentlemen, this summer, but what's the difference, pretty much? What difference is it going to make if Gordon Hayward takes basically, let's say, $30 million less, and yet you're giving Brown and Tatum, between the two of them, a $30 million increase?
I will, Daniel, say that he tweet from the Celtics blog. He just noted that, quote, it's almost certain that Gordon Hayward will opt in to his $34.2 million last year of the contracts, because for opt-out, that means that Gordon Hayward already has the agreement with some team for about 4 years, $90 million. And that person, Kate Smith, he just don't think it's possible at this moment some team to commit that kind of money to Gordon Hayward at this moment. So he will opt in the last year, most likely.
Yeah, so like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm simply saying to you, I've been making this argument for months. Give Tatum and Brown a decent, $18 million, something like that per season for their, second contracts of their NBA careers. But don't be taking them to $20 million, $30 million in this case, just because you're thinking that, they're worth it. Come on, if those guys, like I said, Igor, are true Celtics, then getting a decent pay raise that's double what they're making or something like that should be enough, especially if you're telling them we can't go giving you too much, because at that point we want to, you're not going to allow us to fix the bench. And right now, you should want, if you're a true Celtic, you should want the bench to basically be improved, so like that there's not as much stress on your shoulders. You should want us to have the money available to get the Jamal Crawfords, to get the Avery Bradleys, to get some of these decent bench, players to come and help you, instead of us continuing to deal with rookies on this team. But if you're someone that just wants to focus on making money in this case, fine, we give you the money, but you don't have the help at that point. And at that point, you can't blame nobody for blaming you about, hey, we lost this season because you wanted the cash in your pocket and didn't want to spread the wealth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll find out. If Tatum and Brown can get you to the Eastern Conference Finals, despite Gordon Hayward being out, well then, Igor, they're worth the money at that point. Because then that shows
Absolutely.
that they basically can hang with the top teams and don't need a decent bench in order to win. But if you lose in round one, or you lose in round lose in round one to a banged up 76ers team, or you lose in round two to the Toronto Raptors, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, will tell us the bench does need to be fixed by next season at this case, because the roster is not going to be changed. Nobody is going to give you a decent big man or a decent three-point shooter for Semi Ojeleye or for Tremont Waters or for Carson Edwards. You're not going to get a decent veteran player that's going to help you with your issues without having to give up Tatum, Brown, Kemba, Hayward, or Smart. One of those guys is going to have to go along with draft picks in order for you to get a decent playmaking player in this case. Because on top of it, Igor, we're not New York. We're not in New York City. We're not in Los Angeles. We're not in Miami, where players go because they realize even if they don't make as much money on the, with the team itself, they can make money elsewhere in that city by doing other things. Boston does not have those advantages of those cities, which is why those cities basically have, teams with the top superstars on them in this case. You gotta come, until you fans don't come to the realization that me and Igor, we're just simply saying, you gotta learn what circumstances Danny Ainge and the Celtics are in and stop living in a dream world that somehow, some way, Danny Ainge is going to get everything to come to him. The moment Danny Ainge, Igor, made that deal with the Brooklyn Nets and it basically was proven to be one-sided, Danny Ainge basically robbed Brooklyn, that was it. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is going to deal with him unless they feel they're the ones getting the better end of the trade at this point. So, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, now's your chance. Now's your chance to prove to us and prove to others you're worth the max contracts that you're demanding from Danny Ainge at this point. If you guys don't make it to round 3, despite the fact that you'll have 3 stars in this case, then that's just going to prove to us that technically you're still in development and you're not really in the class of LeBron and company, and you really don't deserve to get max. You deserve to get pay raise, but not a raise all the way to the max contracts. And we can't continue to risk our bench being nothing but crap, all because you basically want to be selfish when it comes to money.
Daniel, the last subject, but not the least, very, very important one, is Jason Tatum against the officials. Now listen. I'm searching for the article that I posted with the post that is very popular. I mean to say that way, not popular, but this post is getting a lot of the attention. Yes, here it is. To explain what is it about. Boston Celtics rumors. Jason Tatum is tired of not getting star treatment from the officials' report. Boston Celtics Jason Tatum began to prove himself a real star this season, and his performance in the bubble helped cement that reputation among fans and medias. One group that still might need to be convinced, if you ask Tatum, are the officials. According to Joe Vardon on The Athletic, Jason Tatum is tired of not being treated as a star by the officials. Per Vardon, Tatum has been complaining about the officials' lack of calls in his favor, both on the bench and in the locker room since the league resumes at Disney World. Tatum's case is interesting. In the first 2 seasons, he was often compared to Paul George, big wing who can shoot, but who can also put the ball on the floor and attack when necessary. By George's standards, Tatum takes appropriate number of free throws, 4.7 attempts, and George 4.5. But this season, Tatum's shoot profile changed dramatically. Rather than simply taking the defense what defense gives him, and he did during the both rookies and sophomore seasons. He's now a shot creator, often running pick and rolls to go either downhill towards the basket or the three-pointer and taking three-pointers off the dribbles. This season, he is running pick and rolls and attacking from the pick and rolls, either layups or three-pointers off the dribble. Aggressive attackers can draw more fouls and get to the line often. In Tatum's case, this year, he shoots free throws on just 8% of all plays. This is low percentage for a player with his usage rate. His usage rate is 28%, which is 96th percentile among the players. For example, Kemba Walker, usage rate 28.5%, more than Tatum. He's 79th percentile among NBA guards. He has almost identically free throws frequency. Free throws frequency is 8.4%. Walker and Tatum free throw frequency 8%. For the comparison, Kawhi Leonard free throw frequency 14. A lot of factors go into free throw frequency. Leonard is big and physical, naturally a little more likely to draw the fouls. While Tatum fouls drawn aren't as high as they sound, they aren't absurdly low. Fouls were whistled on 10.2% of Tatum's field goal percent, and this is like 61 percentile league-wide. Fouls are whistled on 10% of Tatum's field goal attempts, which is he is ranked in 61st percentile league-wide. Tatum made the shoots on just 17.8% of the shooting fouls drawn, which is 24 percentile in the NBA. But he can often be seen asking for a foul, and he runs back to the defense after converting a layups. Perhaps Tatum's source of frustration is that he feels he deserves more respect even when the shoots doesn't go in. In any case, Tatum has morphed into a real star this season with all NBA potential in the near future, maybe even this season. At some point, the calls will start to come. I wrote, and I will quote myself, quote, Jason Tatum isn't getting the calls he wants because he is not a superstar. He's rising star, he's all-star, but he is not a superstar. Simple. You all need to realize that. The moment you realize that he is not top 10 player, not all-NBA player yet, he will be all-NBA top 10 player if he is member of the first or the second all-NBA team. That moment you will get revelation what happens in the NBA for years. The moment Tatum gets Giannis Antetokounmpo treatment, then from the officials, then you will know that he is real superstar. Of course, it has more than 100 people. Somebody of them are upset. Somebody of them are insulting me. Somebody of them disagrees with my statement. They think it's not right how the NBA works. And I have a message to those people. If they want emotions and some justice in the NBA, they should just follow the other sports, Daniel, because NBA is not Justice League. NBA is not a league for emotions. I have a revelation for those fans. NBA is a professional league played for money. It's all about money, ratings, and that kind of stuff. Now, because the people are tagging me and saying Jason Tatum is superstar because he scored 30 points against Philadelphia. Then I'm asking you, is Donovan Mitchell superstar for scoring 51? Is Kevin Booker superstar because he's the best player in the bubble? Is TJ Warren superstar because he's also scoring 40 plus? Then we have about 10. Then we will have like 20 plus superstars in the NBA. Then the definition of the term superstar would lose any sense. So there are a lot of NBA superstars these days, but for which player it is misnomer. There are obvious superstars and less obvious superstars. But what exactly is an NBA superstar? Let's define it, then to make example. Narrowest of designation. The term superstar is one of the most misused words in the NBA. Too many players are pegged as superstars, but in the reality, only the elite players should be called like that. Why is this? When the players like Paul George, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, what the players have this term attributed to them. The more players given the title, the less meaningful it becomes. So if you call many players the superstar, then this word is losing its meaning. Unless you're 2004 Detroit Pistons, that are exception, it's extremely hard, almost impossible to win the championship without a superstar in the league right now. Before I can get there, I have to establish what makes players superstar. Now listen, Daniel, and all of you, listen, please. I will repeat as many times as I need to because I want these facts to get into the fans' heads. I know it's a little hard because they live in another parallel universe, but that's what it is. A superstar is someone who can have a team built around him. He should be able to take the team deep into the playoffs. And he is the main guy that you can depend in the crunch closing minutes in the playoffs. So, superstar can win you the get his team into the playoffs. Superstar as the best player can win you playoff series, and also he is MVP potential. He can get you into the NBA finals, and he is MVP material. In order to attain superstar status, a player should be judged for his play on the court and not his life at all. But that's not the case. For example, general manager would literally break his arm before trading superstar. If superstar was traded, the other team would have to give everything to acquire superstar. Superstars are faces of the franchise. You're lucky if you have one, more than one in a decade, unless you're the Lakers. If the player truly deemed a superstar, then he should keep this status for more than a couple years, barring injury. This means they have a sustained streak of greatness over more than couple of years. If it's 1 year greatness, then he's not a real superstar. And now that we know the superstar, who is the superstar? Of course. To help you, we all remember Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, we have LeBron James, we have Anthony Davis, we have, Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is obviously, but let's look at all NBA teams. Let's look at all NBA teams. Now, for 2020, I'm going to just present you all NBA teams, ladies and gentlemen. It will help us to determine who is the superstar, because you have fog of uncertainty who is the superstar among Celtics fans, Daniel. So to read all NBA teams, that will help us to establish who is right now top 15 players in the NBA. So the first NBA team, 2019, it was Giannis Antetokounmpo, Stephen Curry, then Paul George, James Harden, Nikola Jokic. Those are the official, by the votes of the experts, the coaches, and the medias and the fans, the top 5 players in the NBA. The second NBA team, including Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid from the Sixers, then Kyrie Irving, that time from the Celtics, Kawhi Leonard and Damian Lillard from the Blazers. Those are officially, I underline the top 10 players. You can disagree, but that is your problem, and your problems only. Now, if we want to see who is the top 15 player in the NBA, we, Daniel, can look at the third All-NBA teams. When you look at the third All-NBA team, you're getting to Rudy Gobert, Blake Griffin, LeBron James, Kemba Walker from the Celtics, and Russell Westbrook. Now, those are top 15 players. Not every of them, Daniel, they are not all superstars. Why? Because, remember what we said, Daniel. Superstar need to have playoff success and to lead his team into the glory. MVP titles, anything, recognitions. So, by that definition, James Harden can be excluded from the superstar status. Joel Embiid can be and cannot be the superstar. But the superstars that are undeniable superstars, those are, of course, LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Anthony Davis. Again, he doesn't have playoff success yet, but he is superstar because he has media component. Media component is very important also, not only on court performances. Marketing value of the player for the league, this is very important. That is why those players are superstars. Nikola Jokic, is he superstar? By the full definition, no, but he's top 5 player because he doesn't have the playoff success and the titles. Same with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, you can say and make argument he's top 10 players, superstar in making, but by the definition, he's not a superstar. Anyway, some of the names, for example, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving had playoff success. Paul George, Anthony Davis. You have 7 to 10 names. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are not among them, ladies and gentlemen. How you can see that? When somebody is superstar, Daniel, he's getting the calls. He's getting superstar calls because NBA is protecting its own superstar players. because everything revolves over those recognitions. MVP titles, all star players, all NBA players, superstar players, everything. You can agree with all NBA teams, but the contracts revolves over all-star selection and all NBA players, Daniel. Contracts and MVP recognition and defensive awards, players, etc., etc. So you have contracts, you have marketing revolves about it, league revolves over superstar. So to make a point, why Jason Tatum is not getting calls? Because he's not a superstar. Revelation, right? Very strange. We are talking something to the Celtics fans. I know that we are looking, you and I, Daniel, at this very moment, like the people coming from Mars talking in some strange language, something strange to them, because it's impossible. Jason Tatum is not a superstar. He scored the other night to the Philadelphia 32 points, right? His career high, his best performance probably in the life, overall performance. In the playoffs, certainly, because the highest was 28 points. He topped that last game. So we established that he is not getting calls because he's not superstars. He's getting there, but he's not there yet. What he needs to become a superstar? Marketing values, okay, he probably has it, but he needs to be recognized from the NBA, the whole NBA, and he's not still. He's making huge leap towards, but he needs to be in all NBA teams. He needs to lead the Celtics to a playoff success, and then you and I can say he is top 10 players. He is superstar or close to the superstars. And when he becomes a superstar, if he becomes a superstar, because this is very hard, then he will get the calls. And this is something the Celtics fans do not get it. I'm not justifying NBA. I don't think it is right to get the calls based on your stardom. But that is the way it is. That's the way NBA works. If you cannot see that, you are one, either delusional, two, either crazy, three, either idiot, or you have some mental illness and living in your own world. So we are getting to what I wanted to say. Last night, I noticed something that is bugging me, Daniel. As confirmation of Joe Vorden's article at the Athletics, I noticed last night, Daniel, 3 times. I think he did it about 5 times. Jason Tatum complained to the officials during the live action. I underline, during the live action, because he's not getting calls. In those 3 situations, in 2 situations, Philadelphia make points because Jason Tatum was not focused into defense. He was complaining to the officials. In the 3rd action, Philadelphia lost the ball, turned the ball over. But still, Jason Tatum was not there because he was complaining to the officials. This is really bugging me. It must not happen. Jason Tatum needs to stop it. Or he should such the talk to the officials during the timeouts and pauses. He's hurting himself that way. He's getting bad reputation, and the officials, they're not going to get soft to you because you're complaining and yelling at them, believe me. So you're not going to force the officials to give you superstar treatment. You're going to get bad reputation, and the Celtics will get bad reputation as a team. What is better? Stevens should complain about it. Remember how many texts Greg Popovich gets. Why? Because he's protecting his players. That's what Stevens should do. Tatum had, Daniel, that problem before. He calmed down, but now it emerges. Why it emerges? Because he's reading the stupid fans and the stupid portals and the stupid journalists that are telling him, you are the best, you are the superstar, you are the greatest player ever, you are the greatest Celtic player ever. And he's asking himself into head, wait, I'm a superstar and I'm not getting calls. Why? And it is bugging him. You can see it is bugging him, and he's complaining to the officials. So do you see, Daniel, how bad effect the hype to the young player can have for him? This is the bad effect of the hype and the pressure that the fans and the media are applying to the Jason Tatum. And I beg the fans to stop that hype, because it is hurting Jason Tatum. And it will hurt the Celtics. And also, I am making appeal to Jason Tatum to calm down and to stop it, because if he wants to be the true superstar, he must not do it. Now, numerous of people told me, well, LeBron James do it all the time. He complains to the... How many times in the finals did you see Daniel during the live play in the last 10 years? In the last 10 years, how many times did you see LeBron James complaining to the officials and opposition teams scoring the basket very easily? Very rare. You can count with one hand those situations. LeBron James is complaining. But when? During the commercials, during the break. Because he's not hurting his team that way. This is not smart. This is not smart. And the Celtics fans, they need to educate themselves and to make it easier with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum hype. Do you have something to add on the subjects?
Again, fans have played a role in all this. The, playoff run from 2 years ago has played a role in all of this, because obviously
Absolutely.
Tatum and Brown have both basically felt that they are superstar players ever since the Celtics,
right,
with them basically playing as the top two offensive weapons, basically got to the Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 against LeBron and the Cavaliers 2 years ago. But like you and me said back then, Igor, back then you guys...
I can slightly disagree. Tatum was maybe the main guy, but Horford was number 2. Brown was then number 3, or even Rozier was ahead of Brown. Remember Scary Terry, 18 points and something, 6 assists or 7 assists in the playoffs, 16 points, pardon. So Brown was like third or fourth option, and Jason Tatum was like first option, you can say, or second. Still, Horford was, the first option then.
Yeah, well, Horford was, was the top dog in charge in this case, but when it came to the offense, it came down to some of these other guys.
Yes.
Horford, he took the top responsibility of guarding the big guys from these opposing teams, and at the same time trying to give you some offensive stability and offensive, scoring on his end, which of course we're not seeing that from him right now while he's in Philadelphia, because they're using him in a different way. But that playoff run, Igor, is what set all this in motion. That playoff run was what basically made both Tatum and Brown feel they were entitled, along with Terry Rozier, but made all three of them feel they were entitled to take the starting spots from Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving last season. That's what caused the division between the veteran players,
old guys,
and these young guys. Now your head gets even fatter the moment you find out that Danny Ainge is letting all those guys go and is going to roll with you for the long run.
And now they think Tatum and Brown that they are at the top of the world, that they achieved everything, they are the legends. They are convinced, thanks to stupid medias, stupid portals, and stupid fans that are writing nonsense.
Yeah, so their heads are big. Tatum's being bigger than anyone in this situation between the two of them because of the fact that he feels pretty much what they did 2 years ago should have been enough. But again, you go, NBA superstar, ladies and gentlemen, like Igor said, you want to be an NBA superstar, Jason Tatum? You manage to get to the conference finals or the NBA finals every year, despite who's on your team in this situation, the way LeBron used to do it when he was with Cleveland. Yeah, LeBron needed, in this case, not only one year. I underline by the definition. If 1 year you're great and the other years you suck, the good year is a fluke and you're not a superstar. Yeah, again, LeBron, yes, he needed more superstars to join forces with him to get over the hump when it came to winning a championship. But LeBron, every year, Igor, as much as we hate the guy in terms of
he became great. He carries the team himself to the title and to the conference finals just as a joke every year.
Exactly. It literally takes him having to be injured in order to make sure his team doesn't get to the doesn't get to the playoffs in this case. But put him on any team in this league, regardless if it has another superstar or not, and you'll see that team in the playoffs at least. Whether it's the 8th seed or not, you get him, he'll be in the playoffs one way or another in this case. Can we say, let's just say for argument's sake, Jason Tatum is there with the bench we got. There's no Brown, no Kemba, no Gordon Hayward. It's Tatum and a bunch of regular role players in this case. Does anybody think that Tatum and them are going deep in the playoffs, with Tatum being the only one that can be deemed a superstar? No. Take Brown, or even like this, Igor. Take Tatum.
And this is why somebody made laugh of me because he said Jason Tatum is already in LeBron James's category. I mean, really funny.
Yeah. Well, like I said, take Tatum and put him on the LeBron James-led Cavaliers. Switch him with LeBron. Now, I'm not talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the Cavaliers LeBron was just with, where he had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and all these other guys. I'm talking when LeBron first started. The Cavaliers back then, that the Celtics basically, when we had Garnett and company, were going toe-to-toe with. Put Tatum on that version of the Cavaliers. Do you think that Cavaliers team makes it to Game 7 against Garnett, Pierce, Allen, Rondo, and the Celtics in the second round back in 2008 with Tatum as their star guy? Absolutely not. Do you think Brown gets them to the second round, or the year before gets them to the NBA Finals or something like that? Absolutely not in this situation. It's when you're able to do that, Igor. It's when you can confidently say, just put me on your team and we have a shot. We may not win it, but we have a shot in this case because we'll be one of the top teams in the league. The Celtics now are a top team because they got four guys. It's not only one, they got four. But lose Brown, Hayward, and Kemba. Yeah, 4 All-Stars. You got 4 All-Stars. Get rid of 3 and leave only 1 on this roster. And you tell me, is this team still a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference with that 1 All-Star you chose? Whether it's Brown or Tatum, do you think there's still a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference? If the answer is a no, then you're not a superstar yet. That's plain and simple.
I mean, again, it will be a really great achievement, great achievement if the Celtics get to the Eastern Conference Finals without Gordon Hayward. And if Jason Tatum lead the Celtics this year to the Eastern Conference Finals without Gordon Hayward, and if he is on one of all NBA teams, I'm going to admit that he is top 15 players and really close to the superstar status, if not superstar, you know. But if the Celtics loses in the first two rounds, then it would mean that the hype is not justified. Very simple about Jason Tatum. What I want to say is that this hype, this is getting out of line. It is still one game. I'm really laughing at the Celtics fans' overreaction and at one freaking game. By the way, we played really bad offense the whole game. And, I mean, the Sixers were the worst team, you know, of two. But it is amusing me, the overreaction to one single game. About Jason Tatum, and again, like you said, this is the right time to show us what you got. We're not hating, we are supporting, but support, it is not blind support. Similar with Stevens, he has contract extension. He wants to stay the Celtics for life. Great, but we don't have a life to waste on Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, Daniel. We don't have two lives. We are not living like 100 years, or you know, we don't have like 10, 20 years to waste on some delusion. With Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, I want to be clear. I will say one word, one sentence. It is championship or bust. Championship or bust. And I don't want to hear after 10 years they were good bunch, but the Martians, the officials, the injuries, conspiracy theories. You're either champions or you're bust. That's how the things are working in Boston. So you better be careful what you choose and what you wish when you come to Boston. Danny?
Well, other than that, Igor, the Orlando Magic just took game 1 from Giannis and the Bucks in this case. So that's another thing.
That's
basically great. That's a pretty interesting surprise. You know, you can only imagine. Basically, that right there, Igor, I think shows, ladies and gentlemen, what does Orlando have that Boston doesn't? Why is it that they're capable of beating the Bucks, but we couldn't? They got size.
I will answer you.
They got
big man.
Exactly.
The big man.
They got size.
The big man and shooting.
Vucevic did a great job in that game today, in this case, and they didn't even have, Igor, Orlando didn't even have all of their players in this situation. Aaron Gordon didn't play today, for example. I believe there was one other guy on that team that's critical that didn't play. So they didn't even have to be 100% to actually knock off Giannis and the Bucks. So everybody who was thinking that was going to be an easy series for the Milwaukee Bucks might have to reconsider after the results today in this situation. But that just again shows you, Igor, how important this thing with Gordon Hayward again really is. What happens if Orlando actually pulls off that upset in round 1 and eliminates Giannis and company? That means pretty much whoever if you were able to get by Philly, it's likely whoever it is that ends up winning between you and Toronto is going to the NBA Finals. But now you don't have Gordon Hayward, which now means you're going to have to basically knock off Toronto without him, which makes it more likely it will be Toronto that would get that benefit of playing somebody else other than the Bucks in the third round. So
Toronto, by the way, played like maniacs majority of the game. They played like it's game 7 of the finals, and then they stopped. They realized need to save the gas, and it was like comforting loss for their opponents.
Yeah,
but,
well, Toronto's playing with a chip on their shoulder because they want to prove that last year was no fluke and that they do not need Kawhi Leonard to actually be a championship contender in this case.
Yes.
But again, you're playing Brooklyn in this case, a banged up Brooklyn team that has all of its top players basically missing. There's virtually no firepower on that team. So you winning against them is not going to be impressive. It's what they'll do in round 2 once they play us or Philadelphia, where things will start to be where you can say, okay, now you're making a statement. But again, a Milwaukee dominant victory over Orlando in round 1, and Toronto dominating Brooklyn was not going to basically say anything for those teams. The only teams that have a chance to make a statement in round 1 would be us and Philly, and of course Indiana and Miami, who their game is going to start should have started within the last few minutes for game 1 for that series. But Orlando taking game 1, that's making a statement and basically being able to tell everybody Milwaukee is not basically getting rid of us without a fight in this situation. And maybe there's something there that we can see maybe Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge can use to their advantage by the time the third round comes, if we make it that far. So, Igor, again, it's unfortunate, Gordon Hayward situation. It's unfortunate that now, the chances of us getting to the third round are slimmer than what they were before. In this case, you just proved you can beat Toronto, just a little while, just a couple weeks ago, in this case, when you beat them by 22 points. But now you're going to have to do it without your fourth offensive weapon in this case. So, Igor, one way or another, the way I look at it, one way or another, the Celtics make it far. You and me can be happy because they actually give us a great playoff performance. The Celtics,
absolutely.
If the Celtics fall short, then you and me are in a position where we're able to tell everybody, in this case,
by the way,
we told you so.
By the way, so sorry for interrupting. Nikola Vucevic, career high, 35 points, 5 3-pointers made, and 14 rebounds, led the Magic to the win to the game 1 against the Bucks. Game 2 is Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It will be really, really interesting. Some fans are whining about those games, Daniel, playoff games in the bubble. They are not real playoff games, to say that way, but it is what it is. I mean, for everybody, you have the same conditions, so you don't have the excuse that this is not the real playoff. It is the real playoff. Now, there is no crowd, of course. Anyway, we must finish the chat, and it was great, and I hope entertaining and educative conversation. I think that the fans should learn something about basketball, how NBA is working, because this is the real lesson, Daniel. With watching NBA and basketball, you just need to be educated enough. Otherwise, you will not understand anything. That's it from us. The game 2, Sixers and the Celtics is Tomorrow, Wednesday, 19th August at 6 p.m. Eastern, the Celtics virtual home crowd. And from us, the next show is scheduled to be on the Saturday, 22nd August, if I'm correct. Daniel, that will be all. You?
Well, again, we'll have a video chat Friday afternoon before Game 3, in this case, to recap Game 2. Again, like you said, tomorrow, Game 2, it's actually 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time that they'll tip off in this case. But we will have a video chat Friday afternoon. So Friday, around the time that the game is taking place, that video should be up on YouTube. And then, like you said, Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio, we will have recap of Game 3 at that point. So, Igor, it's a great show. And like I said, hopefully now we'll get some answers. We'll truly find out whether you and me have been right all this time or if we've been wrong all this time. We truly get that test. We truly get that test that you and me have been looking for. Unfortunate it had to come due to an injury to Gordon Hayward. We're wishing him a speedy recovery in this case. But we now get the test, and now we'll find out for sure whether you and me basically were talking the truth.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, are they superstar material or not?
Exactly. We'll find out the truth and finally settle the debate pretty much with the people in the group and others basically who have spoken with us via our show. Were we correct and we were giving right information by basically backing it up with stats and details, or were those people right by basically just speaking from the heart? Now we'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the next few games that we have in this series. 6 games left, of course, if it goes all the way to Game 7. Enjoy tomorrow's Game 2 in this case, and we'll find out finally who had the right to basically make their statements all this time.
Have a good night.